We feel the nice cool breezes through the meditation hall this evening. It's interesting in the course of the day how the atmosphere changes one hour, one moment to the next, and it's actually an obvious parallel to our own mind states, not being directly related. Just earlier today, I was thinking, as it was sort of the temperature was getting warmer and warmer, and I was sitting here feeling hot and sticky. I was wondering, why does it seem so unfamiliar? It's a very peculiar feeling. And then I realized, this is, in California when it gets hot, you don't get sticky, because the air is bone dry. So I thought, that's why it feels different. It took me about an hour or so to figure that one out. So first of all, I thought, maybe I've got a fever, maybe there's something wrong with me. I feel all sweaty. This isn't usual. Maybe I ate something, or maybe I got some bug. And then I thought, no, it's not a bug, it's just the weather. And then as the warmth of the day increased, and always the first sitting of the afternoon, even though we had a walking period first of all, the first sitting of the afternoon there's always the tendency towards this sort of the samadhi of the slug syndrome, and peaceful but not exactly illuminated. And and one could feel this sort of heaviness and density in the air. And then we walk outside, suddenly we see huge black clouds and the wind coming in. And we go, thunderstorm, right. Thunderstorm in the air. And then we have a good downpour and a few claps of thunder, and the air clears, and suddenly, fresh, cool. It's all different. So it made me think of at times when in Thailand the hot season runs from say the end of March through till June, and in May you start to get the first thunderstorms of the season. April's the real cooker, and then May you start to get the first few thunderstorms of the year. And what happens is that everyone in the monastery starts to get grumpy. And I mean, people are not exactly cheerful in the hot season anyway, but then people get really grumpy. And then another day goes by and everyone's getting seriously grumpy. And then there'd be a thunderstorm, big, flash bang, crash, a quick burst of rain, the air clears and everyone's suddenly cheerful. And it was just like turning a dial on a radio or a heater or something. It's just you turn it this way, you get this; you turn it that way, you get that. And it's really amazing. That kind of connection of the mood was just what the weather was doing, and how we can take everything so personally. We can sit here thinking, I've got a real drowsiness problem. Why am I feeling so grumpy today? Or I'm sure I'm sickening for something. I'm covered in sweat. That never happens. I must be ill. And it's not personal at all. It's nothing to do with us as an individual. It's just the influence of the weather in that circumstance. So practicing Dhamma is really a lot to do with extending that same insight across the board, across the whole spectrum of our experience, because we say, that's just the weather, but the rest is me. Or if it's not me, it's him next to me, or her, or the institution or something that's making me grumpy or unhappy or giving me hope or excitement. We we concretize so much, we personalize things so much. And that practicing Dhamma is a lot to do with seeing through that personalizing habit, that the conditioning that exists for us as human beings to make everything so personal, to do with me, to do with you, to do with the society, the institution, the family. It's also personal, the way that we relate to it, and particularly in our Western conditioning. That, again, not to sort of be harping on the individualism, but when the excellence of the individual is the sort of the ultimate goal of life, which is very much what's put in front of us in the West through our education and the conditioning society. That the winning, the individual triumphing, me winning, is the ultimate happiness, right? That me getting the prize, me winning the job, me getting the contract, me. And even though on an ideological level we might think, well, I'm not like that. It's amazing how strong, even though on one sort of region of our idealism rejects that as a principle, yet it's woven into us at a cellular level. That kind of importance of the individual, or the absolute reality of the individual, and how me succeeding is that which is of ultimate worth in life. And we scarcely stop to think, well, what is success? What is winning? What is that? We don't have to look too far before we see that our judgments have to get very narrow. We have to define what is of value to us in life, to see that me succeeding at one thing can be an exact counterpart of me failing deeply at something else. The fact that I'm putting a lot of energy into one thing, aiming to do one thing, so that maybe succeeding at meditation is me failing at family life. Or me succeeding in business is me ruining my emotional nature. Or me succeeding in academia is me failing as a reasonable human being, able to function with other people, other situations. So what we're trying to do with practicing the Buddha Dhamma, investigating that and living by that, training ourselves in that, is learning to understand this whole personalizing process, how we make everything, we cast everything, we view the world, internal and external, so much through this lens of me and I and mine and the personality. And it's not to condemn it or to even criticize it. It's like we have personalities and egos for very good reasons. They play a very important role in life. They enable us to get by and to function as part of the human group. But the problem comes when the ego or the personality takes over the whole show, when it kind of grabs the wheel and wants to run things. I often compare this to like a 3-year-old saying, I want to drive, and you say, oh sure, please, take over, Where would you like to go? I'll push the pedals for you, you steer. Or asking a 3-year-old what they want to have for supper every night. But you decide, what would you like? And so you'd be having chocolate pudding and and ice cream for eternity. So that it's important to say, begin to get a perspective on this kind of dimension of our world. So during the course of a day, like today, this is the first day of the retreat, and how many people have we each been during the course of today? Being the noble yogi, diligent, committed, hell-bent on nibbana, resolute, determined, unwavering. We've been the quivering wimp, the helpless failure, the sneak thief, the cheat, the arrogant idiot, the kindly, gentle friend, the mother, the child, the elder, the leader, the follower. I don't. We all have our own list, but how many different people, how many different roles we assume during the course of a day? When you think of your father, you're a child. When you think of your partner, then you're a lover. When you think of your work situation, then you're the boss, or you're the underdog, or you're the colleague. You think of the different roles that we have. We flip in and out of them, or even not in terms of personality. When the temperature gets cranked up, then it's like, I'm the hot one. I am heat. I am. What am I? I am hot. That's what I am. I am hotness. Or restless. I am restless. Or I am concentrated. I'm succeeding. I'm getting somewhere in my practice. I'm getting nowhere in my practice. I am both getting somewhere and getting nowhere in my practice. Neither getting somewhere nor getting nowhere in my practice. Just if we made a little list, if we had a little meter that was sort of running at our in our zabutons, sort of checking the arrival and departure of different beings, a kind of being tracker, entity counter of all the different beings we become and cease to be during the course of the day. I mean, they probably run out of digits. They'd run into the 10,000s. And so, which is the real me? Which is the real one? Is it the one that we like, or the one that shouts loudest, or the one that's around most often? Oh, this is such an important principle, and one of the great blessings of the Buddha's teaching is how directly his words and his guidance points us to the way to really understand this creation of personality, the creation of the sense of self, and guiding us to be able to understand that, to see through it, to know how it works, and to no longer be dominated by that. And this is the first of what are called the fetters, or those things which are which need to be understood, penetrated, to be fully seen, known clearly, in order for us to know and to be established on the path to freedom, to awakenness, to enlightenment. It's what they call Sakaya Ditti, sometimes known as the personality view or the embodiment view. Just to do a little Pali etymology, the prefix sa, sa means the true or real, kaya means the body or form, and ditti means the view. So in a way it means the view of the reality of the body, of the person. Now, oftentimes when we encounter the Buddha's teachings on selflessness, it can become kind of confusing, because different people represent it in different ways, and it seems as though the Buddha didn't really intend the teachings on anatta, on selflessness, to be some kind of philosophical position that you take, another view to grasp hold of and believe in. So sometimes you read it, more often than not you read books that say Buddhists believe they have no self, or Buddhists have no self, or no soul, or and sometimes the people who sort of got into Buddha Dharma out of from a more sort of anti-Christian tilt, say, get very vehement about this. They say, the Buddha said we have no soul. There is no soul. Or no self. This is the Atman is a Hindu heresy. No Atman, no self. And so it's important to understand how, or to reflect on how the Buddha used this language of anatta, which atta is the Pali for the Sanskrit word Atman. So the Sanskrit for anatta would be anatman. And it really means more not self rather than no self. It's not. And when the only time the Buddha was asked straight out in the scriptures, is there a self, or is there no self? He refused to answer. There's a character called Vacchagotta, who was one of these characters who makes repetitive appearances. He was very devoted to the Buddha, but he was a wanderer from a different sect, and he'd show up and pump the Buddha with various different philosophical tangles he got himself into. So one time he came to the Buddha and said, "Does the self exist?" And the Buddha remained silent, didn't answer. He said, "Well, does the self not exist?" And again the Buddha remained silent. So Vacchagotta, being befuddled by this, then pays his respects and heads out and goes away. So Ananda, Venerable Ananda, the Buddha's kindly attendant, who's always ready to patch things up and try and make things right, then chases after Vacchagotta and tries to explain to him why the Buddha was silent. And anyway, then Ananda, because he's afraid that Vacchagotta is going to think that the Buddha doesn't really understand or doesn't know, and that's why he didn't reply. So he says to Vacchagotta, "You mustn't think that the master doesn't understand. There are reasons why he's not saying this to you." So then Ananda goes to the Buddha and says, "Well, why was it that you didn't answer Vacchagotta?" And the Buddha said, "Well, if when he asked me the question, is there a self? Then if I had answered yes, then would that have been in accordance with the teachings that I give that on the fact that the body is not self, feelings are not self, perceptions are not self, mental formations are not self, consciousness is not self, the 5 khandhas, the 5 attributes, aspects of body and mind?" And then Ananda says, "Well, no, it wouldn't be in accord with that." And the Buddha says, "Well, and then if when he said, is there no self, I had said, yes, there is no self, then he would have thought, well, I had a self when I came here, and now it seems I haven't got one." And he would have gone away even more befuddled than when he arrived. So whether you agree with that system of thinking or not is up to you. But that was the Buddha's reply. But that's the only occasion where he's asked straight out, is there no self? And he didn't say no. So what it's really pointing to is that any conception that we have that we could refer to as self is going to be wide of the mark. Because what we tend to conceive is always in terms of the body, in terms of feelings, in terms of perceptions, in terms of ideas, concepts, mental structures, mental formations. We create an image, a mental idea, a word. And so that the Buddha, rather than trying to create some sort of metaphysical description of the true self, or self with a big S, just avoided the issue altogether. And very, very similar to some of what you find in Christianity and somewhat in Islam, Judaism, took what they call a via negativa, or the way of negation. Just took a path of describing what we are not. So, saying, well, if you realize that the body is not self, feelings are not self, perceptions are not self, mental formations are not self. That's like our thoughts, ideas, emotions, any kind of mental activity of that nature. Well, consciousness itself, just the act of cognizing a particular form. If we recognize that all of those are not intrinsically who and what we are, if we let go, if we no longer seek for our identity in what we're not, then what is real becomes manifest or becomes apparent. So by a process of elimination, you don't have to define what you are, but by simply letting go of the false identification with what we're not, then that reality reveals itself, becomes clear. And so, of course, the mind gets hungry for some sort of definition. So I am the absence of the body, feeling, perceptions, mental formations, consciousness. No. Because then we've created this idea of this sort of etheric something or other, the great whatever it is, that is somehow not those other things. And then we create that concept and we hang on to that concept. Or, I am spaceless, timeless, infinite zero. Or whatever you can call it. As Ajahn Amaro once said, you can call it Montgomery if you like. No, Montague, excuse me. You can call it Montague if you like. But the point is that the methodology that the Buddha used and where the teachings of anatta are used is by pinpointing the places where we usually take refuge, where we usually establish what we are, how we name ourselves, and pointing out that's not intrinsically who and what we are. That's not me. That's not what I am. That's not myself. So we tend to take. We don't think I take refuge in my body, but hey, when the aches and pains come, it's something's gone wrong with my knee. Oh dear, I wonder what that is. Oh my God, that eye problem again, or the way I look. You look in the mirror. I look in the mirror in the morning sometimes and think, oh dear. And I'm a monk. I'm not supposed to care about these things. And this haggard thing looks out at me from the mirror. I think, oh dear. Man, those bags under the eyes are they're developing rapidly. I'm definitely middle-aged now. So, what does that say about identification with the body? It's like, that's me looking out the mirror. Oh, is it? Oh. Our identification with our gender, being a woman, being a man, it's automatic, isn't it? Just the way we judge other people. Oh, it's a man, it's a woman. Just goes without saying, goes without question. Oh, yeah, she's a woman, of course. Yeah, I'm a man, of course. It's a no-brainer. So it's these teachings are pointing at these very everyday, ordinary, inarguable assumptions and arguing them. Oh, really? So the breath, the air that was in this room when we all came in here this morning. Now, where is it? All the oxygen, carbon dioxide and things that was in this room when we entered 5:30 this morning. What's happened to it? I mean, a bit's come and gone out of the windows, but how much of it's been incorporated into our bodies? Is our bodies. The oxygen turned into energy, keeping us alert, alive. How much have that was in our bodies, the carbon dioxide that we breathed out? Now I breathed in all of yours. We have intermingled, which might be slightly nauseating, but I won't get into things like skin particles and hair fragments and other such niceties. But it's around. You only have to see a shaft of sunlight coming through the air in a room, and you think, wow, look at all that. Right? It doesn't disappear when the sunlight vanishes. In fact, as I speak, as we sit here, all of that is entering, leaving, accumulating, dispersing. 99% of house dust is human skin, ex-human skin, said he, scratching his head. So we are interrelated in many, many ways. So that identification with the body, it seems so natural, so obvious. But then in those moments, let's say when we're sitting meditating and the mind is concentrated, then is that breath? Is that a male breath or is that female breath? Is that male oxygen or female oxygen? Is that depressed oxygen or enlightened oxygen? Is that carbon dioxide having a good mood or a bad mood? But we say, oh, I'm in a good mood, I'm in a bad mood. I'm enlightened, I'm depressed. I'm asleep, I'm awake. I'm a man, I'm a woman. Is it beautiful oxygen or just plain oxygen or ugly oxygen? Yet we might look in the mirror and think, ooh dear. But we don't relate to oxygen that way, or carbon dioxide. We're judging each other. Layperson, monk, nun. We create these as sort of eternal, solid, absolute forms. But in fact they're just conventions constructed by our own conditioning, our own imagining, sustained by our culture, the way that we judge things. I grew up. My mother's side of the family is from the continental Europe, and so I grew up thinking I was a very cosmopolitan person. I used to bop over to the continent from England and go to Belgium, and France, and Austria, and Switzerland, and places, and so I didn't realize that there was a lot more of the world beyond the European mindset, and then going to Thailand in my early 20s, it was really striking some of the differences that there is in a Thai culture, in the way that people relate to certain things, so that it'd be quite normal for a total stranger to walk up to you on the street or sit down next to you on the bus and sort of take hold of your arm and start stroking it, saying, "Wow, that's really hairy." Or, "What pale skin! Your skin is so white." Or black, if you happen to be African American, which is certainly it's quite shocking to some African American people when they've gone to Thailand. They say, "Wow, I've never seen anyone as black as this," which. And this happened to a guy who was in the Black Panthers in Detroit in the early 70s, and he was a monk in our monastery in Thailand. And the Thai people, it's absolutely normal to them. Or if you're a large person, they'd say, "Oh wow, you're really fat, aren't you?" Or they'd say to me that that's the biggest nose I've ever seen in my life. Wow. And that's what they call you. They just call you, oh, he's the big nose monk, or the one monk they used to call the little elephant, because he just used to thump the ground when he had this very thumping walk. So they called him Little Elephant. Chang Noi. He's got a big little elephant actually. And it's not insulting in the slightest. There's like absolutely no offense. People sort of people in high society were quite. One of Ajahn Chah's greatest supporters is called Kunying Dun, which means something like Lady Plump. She's like a very, she's an aristocrat, but that's what Dun means. It means kind of fatty or plump. And everyone knows her as Kunying Dun. That's just what her name is. Or the one time Ajahn Sumedho was really amused when this very, very dignified couple came to visit Amaravati. And it was they were a royal couple, prince and princess of Thailand. And one was, the fellow was known as Bum. and his wife was called Moo, which means pig. So they were quite this royal couple, happily going around called Pigsy and Bum. Absolutely no, without a blink, quite happily introduced themselves. Oh, my name is Bum and this is Moo. You know. So it's you get these sort of reflections on cultural conditioning, which are really helpful to us. You know, how dare you talk about my nose like that? Or, so that what we would take as sort of highly personal remarks, like don't say anything about, how fat he is. Well, they'll just sort of come up and just sort of take hold of your spare tire and say, "Wow, that's amazing." It's really quite extraordinary being around it. One of the monastery supporters, this very sweet old lady who passed away now, she had, used to come to the monastery every day. She had 10 kids, and the last time I was there in Thailand, she came with one of her daughters and said, she said, "Oh, this is my daughter. This is the fat one." she was pretty big, and the daughter just sort of chuckled. Yeah, I'm the fat one. Yeah, that's me. The others are all skinny. I'm the fat one. You couldn't conceive of someone introducing their sort of 250-pound daughter, saying, "Oh, hi, it's my daughter Susan. She's the fat one." Mother. It's just so that seeing how differently we can see the world, just as an example of how things that seem kind of inarguable and normal, absolute matter-of-fact things, we begin to recognize as like social conditioning. What is beautiful, what is ugly, what's good behavior, what's bad behavior. So that the meditation, and as we develop the quality of insight, learning to look into the mind, and just seeing all these different personae, different characters, the different people that we are, and therefore the different people that others are, just coming and going, just seeing, appearing, taking shape, dissolving, moment after moment, day after day. The hot one, the enlightened one, the irritated one, the cold one, the hungry one, the overfed one, the diligent one, the lazy one. And learning to recognize, oh, this is just another persona. They come, they go, they change. Is this really me? Is this what I am? Is this myself? So these teachings on anatta are really a tool to investigate that habitual identification process. It's that habitual way of judging ourselves. And it's a way of like putting a sort of conditional a conditional quality on it, like surrounding it in an atmosphere of, well, maybe so, or that's part of the picture, or is that a fact? Is that all of the picture? Is that all of the story? And then as we look, and we're not trying to create some sort of belief system, but just using this as a tool to awaken our own intuitive wisdom, to apply our own intuitive wisdom, that our own innate understanding. Because we do, every one of us possesses, wisdom in full measure, that quality of awareness that I've been referring to during the day. It's not an awareness. This is just like a sort of data reception center, like a video camera that's sort of recording information. But awareness also, this quality of awareness also possesses great wisdom, intelligence, which is intuitive, which is to say it's intrinsically connected to an understanding, a direct understanding and a direct appreciation of the orderliness of nature, the orderliness of Dhamma, of the way things are. So we're tapping into that recognition, that in our own heart, which knows the way things are, which you can use the term intuitive wisdom or intuitive awareness to refer to. So it's really training, by applying insight, what we're doing is training ourselves to listen to that wisdom, to trust that, to view the experience of the moment from that point, from this center, so that we're recognizing a judgment of being beautiful, being ugly, being old, being young, being a woman, being a man, being this or that, whatever it might be. The way we judge the world around us: this is good, that's bad; this is beautiful, that's ugly; this is delicious, this is horrible. It's, say, recognizing with that quality of intuitive wisdom that these are judgments. This is one way of looking at it. And the heart knows it isn't the whole story. It couldn't be the whole story. The heart knows that. We don't have to make ourselves believe it, because our heart already understands that to be true, knows it to be true. Now, the words I'm saying, you shouldn't just believe or expect. You shouldn't feel you're expected to believe this, but taking these as themes and seeing how they resonate within us. Does this make sense? Does it have a ring of truth to it? So that we take the teachings on anatta and use maybe these sort of verbal reflections and asking ourselves questions like, well, what makes this me, or what makes this mine? Is this really good? What makes this bad? And then using that kind of verbal reflection, then that, say, opens the door to that intuitive wisdom which says, yeah, right, it's just the body coming and going and changing. When the mind when, say, that we're sitting in meditation and the eyes are closed, we're paying attention inwardly, and there's a quality of spaciousness. At that time, what is the body? It's like a constellation of sensations somewhere in the field of awareness. Now, is that awareness, what shape does that awareness have? Is it tall? Is it short? Is it old? Is it young? Is it female or male? Is it beautiful or ugly? Does it have a nationality? Does it have a personal history? Does it have a future, a past? So we begin to recognize that if we can say that we are anything, you can say that, well, if anything is real, then that quality of awareness, of intuitive wisdom, knowing, is real. That's if you like, the back wall that or the ground that we come to, or that we rest from. And that the qualities of old, young, beautiful, ugly, inside, outside, I like, I don't like, the world, people out there, me in here, that all of those appearances take shape within this sphere of knowing, of awareness. But that awareness itself has no shape, no form. The Buddha said, Nibbana has no color. So that as I was saying last night about taking refuge, this act of letting go of the imputed solidity and validity of the personality, of judgments, of opinions, of perceptions, the letting go of that solidity and coming to rest in that awareness, that knowing. This is what we mean by taking refuge in Buddha. And it's a refuge because that awareness can contain the beautiful, the ugly, the pleasant, the painful, success, failure, mediocrity. It can contain what we call me, it can contain what we call you, it can contain the whole universe, internal and external, large and small. It knows that. It knows that the qualities, but it also knows them coming, going, changing. And so there's this quality of freedom, of invulnerability. That's like a mirror. Like a mirror can reflect the sacred and the profane, the beautiful, the ugly, the interesting, and the boring. And the mirror is totally is unembellished by the beautiful and untainted by the corrupt or the painful. So in the same way, our own intuitive wisdom, the quality of awareness itself, the Buddha mind, similarly is uncolored, untainted, unflustered by anything that it reflects, anything that it receives, anything that it knows. That's why it's a refuge. If it wasn't, it wouldn't be a refuge. It wouldn't be the jewel. It wouldn't be of ultimate worth, of ultimate value. So the aim in the practice that we're doing is to simply cultivate that quality of letting go of the conditioning that we've all been subject to. The judgments of ourselves as being this person or that person, as being this way or that way. Just learning to see through them, see their transparency. And then in that seeing through, then we find ourselves automatically being that knowing, being that Buddha, that Buddha wisdom. And this is, I'm just saying this, and people don't have to believe me, but it's let us suggest that the wisdom of your own mind, the quality of awareness that with which you are receiving this very moment right now, there's absolutely no difference between that and the quality of knowing, wisdom, the mind of a Buddha, of an enlightened being. It's the same wisdom, it's the same awareness. Just like water, just like oxygen. It's the same. Whether it's the water in the body of a Buddha or the water in your body, the fabric of the mind, the nature of the mind, it's the same. How could it be different? Differences come because of the depth of our habituation to fears, to impulses, to attachment, to opinions, to identification with the body, the personality, my personal history, etc., etc., etc. That's the differences come in the depth of that identification. But the intrinsic fabric of mind is exactly the same. So at the beginning I was saying how we take everything personally. Isn't it amazing how when you experience a wave of anger, then or you think of yourself as an angry person or a fearful person, isn't it amazing how I can believe that I created fear? I am the producer of fear. It's like no one ever was, no other person, other being was ever fearful before. That I'm the one who's produced fear in the universe. That I am actually sort of creating it out of nothing, or anger, or desire, greed. I mean, we take it so personally, don't we? We think, I've got a greed problem, or I've got a fear problem. I'm so angry, and we don't necessarily think it through. We don't kind of walk ourselves through it. And this is what I found for myself, was that I was relating to my own feelings of fear or desire, whatever it might have been. I'm relating to this like I created this, as if it didn't exist in the universe before I came along, and I've conjured this up. And when you look at it, or even just think that way, you realise, well, that's totally ridiculous. But on an emotional level, one can take it that way, rather than thinking, well, as a human being, here we are, body and mind, born with one of these things, so it's fully equipped to be able to produce happiness and kindness, to experience kind of rage and frustration. It can experience fear, it can experience joy, it can experience anger, destructiveness, it can experience everything. So it's built to generate these feelings. Hot and cold, pleasure and pain. It's rigged for the whole thing. The device has got all these attributes built into it. So is there any surprise when certain buttons get pushed? Then you get an anger reaction, or you get a love reaction, you get an attraction reaction, you get an aversion reaction, because that's what the system is built to do. It's not like I generated it. It's like when certain experiences arrive, then certain emotional responses, reactions come forth. So when someone close to us passes away, dies, someone in our family or someone that we've loved, they pass away and die, and then we feel grief. And then again we can take it so personally, like, oh, I've got this big problem with grief, I should get over it. I'm really I shouldn't be grieving so much. I should be non-attached. Everything that arises passes away. Let go. So we can come at it with from a theoretical position, and yet that we don't recognize that part of the human condition is that the karmic result of having drawn close to another being and having had feelings of closeness and affection, when when their separation happens, then grief is felt. It's just like if you walk outside with a thin shirt on and it's cold, you'll start shivering. It's not a big surprise. Or if the sun is blazing hot and you've got a jacket on, you'll start to get sweaty. It's not a surprise. It's not a personal failing. or whatever. It could be, you can relate to things. Look at me, how joyful I am, or look at me, how intelligent I am. It's a big mistake to take it so personally. But I remember once reading about an interview with a man from the Iroquois, and he was talking about their kind of cultural outlook that they had. He's trained in his tribe, and he was describing how, so if I'm in a foot race with the other young men in the tribe, and we race, and I win the race, I don't think, wow, I'm the best. I think, how grateful I am to my ancestors, because it's not just me racing; it's all of the ancestors who preceded me, my great 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 grandparents, my great great grandparents and grandparents and parents. It's like, how could I be here if it wasn't for all of those guys behind me? So it's not just me, the great me, racing and winning, but there's a sense of gratitude of, oh, how wonderful that there's all of this chain of generations have come to this point where this excellence can be experienced. And that was such a novel idea. I mean, I remember reading it thinking, oh, what a concept. Because the conditioning just doesn't go that way. We don't think in those terms. So similarly, and the main problem with us in the West is generally in the direction of self-criticism rather than self-aggrandizement. Is that not too much of an assumption to make? How many people here have problems with self-aggrandizement? Right? Self-criticism? Yeah, it's usually the overwhelming feature. So this is what we do. We tend to take our small-mindedness or our fearfulness or our greediness, the feelings of anger or lust or aversion, impatience, and we make them personal rather than thinking, this is just part of the human condition. Waves of irritation, attraction, aversion, they arise, they cease. Waves of fear, waves of love and hate, they arise, they cease. It's not personal. So that the practice is helping us to, in this way of starting to see through these habitual judgments, to see it's Dhamma, it's all the way of nature. This is the part of the patterns of nature, feelings of attraction, aversion, fear, desire, friendliness, unfriendliness. This is the patterns of nature that we experience. And the more that we learn to let go and not be blindly dragged around or identified with it, then what happens is that the innate responsiveness of the heart can function. Like last night we chanted the Brahma Viharas, the divine abidings, loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, serenity. And these are the way that the heart responds from a place of emptiness, a place of letting go, a place of non-attachment. That the heart intrinsically responds to the different situations that are experienced with kindness or compassion, with sympathetic joy, happiness at the good fortune of others, or with serenity, equanimity. That these are the kind of mature emotions. That this is the way the heart responds from a place of integration and maturity, a place of freedom to different situations. So don't think when we talk about resting in awareness or non-attachment that we're trying to just sterilize. We turn ourselves into a sterilized data reception unit. Just sort of clocking, seeing, hearing, feeling, thinking, emoting grief for dead mother, feeling cold, go find jacket. It's not that way at all. It actually frees our life up to be able to function in a totally natural, open and spontaneous way. And so we find that we can relate with kindness. One moment we can be calm and friendly. We can be fierce and intense. We can be very cool and stable. We can be infinitely compassionate, warm. Without thinking about it, just responding like a tree bending in the wind. Being around my own teacher, Ajahn Chah in Thailand, he was such an amazingly he'd let go of everything to such an extent that sometimes I couldn't even speak Thai very well, but just watching him operate, you could see him relating, because in Thailand they don't do this sort of individual interview thing. It's like all spiritual processing happens in public. And so he would generally sit under his hut and receive people all day. And so there might be one person here who is having some kind of profound insight or deep meditation experience, and there's someone here who wants their baby blessed, and there's someone over here whose husband has just left her, and some guy over here who's taken a second wife and is upset because his first wife is criticizing him for this, and then someone over here who wants to disrobe, and you'd find Ajahn Chah like kind of the conductor of the orchestra, just kind of having the whole lot on the boil, like a bit of compassion over here, some equanimity over there, and a bit of clobber over the head, the guy in the back, all happening at once, and just and looking at him, say, how's he doing this? And realize there's absolutely nobody home, but yet someone kind of so totally alive at the same time, completely responsive, and so being comforting and friendly to the mother with a little baby, and blasting the guy with who's getting himself a second wife, and being kind of informative and analytical about the meditation experience of this character over here, but not doing anything. No sense of a person trying to do something, but just through that profound abandonment, letting go, and just letting the heart respond, like letting the Dhamma respond to the like basically getting out of the way, just letting the Dhamma respond to itself. The Dhamma of your own nature responding to the Dhamma of the nature around you. So that's really what it is. Just It's not a matter of practicing something to get somewhere, doing something to become something else. But that it's really, our efforts are geared towards this profound abandonment, letting go, so that that which is already here, that which is our own nature, that which is the Dhamma, can function without obstruction. Which is kind of ironic, because it really looks like there's a lot of people here doing something. We all travel vast distances. I came 3,000 miles here to do nothing. But I will consider if I find that I'm doing something, I will consider that I've failed. So it looks like there's people doing something from the outside. Me practicing meditation, me teaching the Dhamma. And so that there's that form, it can look that we apply that kind of effort as an effort. But it's an effort which is not cast in the form of a person who is doing something, trying to get some particular result. So it's a kind of ironic conundrum. And so, it's the mind says, well, how can I do something but not do it? How can I kind of sit here and not meditate? So these kind of themes we'll be exploring over the next few days. And hopefully we'll illuminate that. But just to clarify that basic principle, I think it's very helpful to see that as long as we cast the practice in the form of me doing something, even me absolutely committed 100% to doing something terribly noble and good and purifying, if we're locked into that form, the result will be dukkha. Because we're starting out from a paradigm which is essentially ignorant. We're starting out from there's a me here who's got to do something to become something else. So as soon as we've locked that in, then we've committed ourselves to the ignorant point of view, to avidya. So that it's like, even though that might seem on a conventional level quite reasonable, to be me doing something, me coming on a retreat, me studying Buddha Dharma, me developing the meditation, it's like practicing that, but also seeing the emptiness of that, so that then we are able to use the forms of the retreat, the practices, as a way of relinquishment, as a way of coming from the place of vijja, of knowing, of awareness, of not self, not starting from the position of me, this person, but letting go of that and recognizing, well, there's the awareness, there's the rising and passing of conditions, there's sight, sound, smell, taste, touch coming and going. This is the refuge. This is why we begin by taking refuge. So it's like that act of taking refuge, we bow, we put this character down below the rest. So that it's like making the gesture of putting the self-centered view below, at least in physical form, the triple gem. So that act of refuge is that act of inclining towards vijja, towards knowing, towards awareness, inclining towards the perspective of not self, of selflessness, of the intention of letting go of that, seeing through that. So I offer these words for consideration this evening.